three-time Pro Bowler. You know, it's funny. I watched the Bills play last night in that snow, and I said it looked like 8-year-olds on the first snow day. They were having, they loved playing in that. And not that San Francisco melted like a Miami team, but it's weird. Watching them play in that weather, it's almost like if they could choose the weather for the playoffs, that would be it. When you were in Seattle, you probably liked rain and watched the guys come in and fumble, right?
Colin, my rookie year, I went to the Green Bay Packers. Most of our team, like our quarterback was from Mississippi. Everyone thought like, oh, he's a cold weather quarterback, Brett Favre. He's from Mississippi. You know, half the guys in my rookie class, they saw snow for the first time when they got to Wisconsin. And yet they thought of us as like this cold weather team. I used to tell people all the time, like we'd wear no sleeves. We'd go out at halftime. We would come in the locker room, in the quarterback meeting room. Sorry, where we would meet was in the sauna. It was the quarterback's coach, Andy Reid. It was Doug Peterson's the backup. Brett Favre's the starter. Rick Meyer's there. I'm there. And literally, we're in there in the sauna having our, like, halftime adjustment meeting. We were freezing. Then we go out in the second half and, like, you know, we just play this tough guy thing. Like, yeah, we're not cold. You know, we're not wearing sleeves. And I'm sure the opposing team, like the 49ers, they're like, man, these guys are crazy. They love this stuff. It's like they would rather be in the snow right now. And that's what it looked like with Buffalo. I think the fans were into it. It's super cool to play in, super fun. It's also fun to watch.
You know, I said this about Russell Wilson. I thought the fit was weird. But I do think that we don't think about this, even for guys like you who are college All-Americans, 18 years Pro Bowls, for like you. Fit is really essential. You're talking about 22-year-old kids. So even though Russell's older, Denver was a bad fit because here's Sean Payton, who has his view of offense, and then Russell Wilson comes in with his view, clash. Tomlin is a defensive guy, and I almost feel like Russell feels liberated, like I can kind of do what I do, and Mike off of Kenny Pickett is sort of appreciative. But I watch it, and I'm like, it kind of works, Tomlin-Russ, doesn't it?
Well, it's definitely working. I don't see it that way necessarily. I think there's this fine line between humility and confidence. And I think you need both. And I don't think Russell was very humble in Denver, but I think he's been more humble this time. And he definitely has the confidence. Listen, that game started out, he throws a pick six on like the third pass or the third play of the game. And, you know, he doesn't flinch. He has the confidence. He's like, you know what? I've been there, done it, had highs, had lows. I'm good. But if you watch that game, if you really study how he got to 400 yards, it wasn't really what we're going to see in the highlights, all these deep balls. It really wasn't. The first half, he had 2 completions to a wide receiver that were past the line of scrimmage. That was it. He won this game by using the running backs in the passing game, using the tight ends in the passing game. In the first half, he had 7 completions to running backs, 4 to tight ends. And like I said, 2 that went past the line of scrimmage. So is he a great deep ball thrower? Yes, he really is. He's got great trajectory on his throw. But that's not how he won this game. That's not how he got to 400 yards. I believe he played the kind of like that division's type of football. You heard Mike Tomlin talk about it. He said he's acclimated well to this division and this kind of football. And I think part of that is being humble. And yet, like I said, having like this ultra confidence where you have confidence in yourself and your team has confidence in you as well.
You know, the Bears situation's interesting. So I would have been much harder on Caleb.
Interesting? Well, that's a really nice way to put it, Colin.
Trying to be kind on a Monday. I do think with a rookie quarterback, sometimes a coach or a veteran backup or something has to throw him a life preserver. A lot of these teams get a rookie quarterback. They'll go get a veteran guy, a Josh McCown, get him in here. And I thought Matt Eberflus's inability, you could see Caleb's looking around, and it's like, you got to call timeout. You got to help the kid. Now, maybe in 3 years, that's on Caleb. Were you bothered by Caleb or the lack of support he got from the head coach?
All of it. You know, listen, I got on here, you know, when he gave up 9 sacks and everyone was trying to blame the offensive line. And I'm like, listen, there's shared blame. And if I'm coaching the quarterback, I'm blaming the quarterback for at least 6 of those sacks, at least. But yet they blame somebody else. Then it was something else, and they blamed the offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. They fired him. Now this situation, they're blaming the head coach who could have called timeout. He shouldn't have needed to call timeout. You had 36 seconds. You need to save that timeout. 2 minute is different in the second quarter than it is in the fourth quarter. 2 minute is different when you're down 3 versus if you're down 4 or more. like at some level, there's got to be some shared responsibility by the quarterback. So if you're coaching the quarterback, like with a closed door, I think you need to be really critical. Like yesterday, it was like almost hilarious to me how like every single comment that someone said about the Bears, everyone would say like, oh, you can't put that on the quarterback. Like, why? Like, I don't understand why. Like, the only way you're going to improve as a quarterback is if you're coached tough, if you're coached hard, if you tell the truth on Monday. And like, that's the part that I'm not sure is getting done right there. I thought Matt Eberflus probably needed to be fired because of all the stuff, you know, if you look at the totality of it. But really, I thought what he did at the podium was he tried to not throw his quarterback under the bus. But I don't know who else you can really blame for what happened in that situation if you're coaching the quarterback.
Yeah. So, you know, I watch Baltimore, and I said this for years with Tiger Woods. There's a lot of great golfers. There was one Tiger Woods, and guys shot a lot of good rounds and lost to the meteor known as Tiger Woods. And I watched the Ravens, and I'm like, well, they lost to Kansas City by a foot. You know, Philadelphia may be the best roster in the league. You start looking around, and you're like, okay, the Raiders game is what it is. But I watched them handle the Chargers. I'm like, I think it's a good team. I just think the greatest kicker ever has hit a wall, and they keep losing these close games. I think if they hit field goals, they win. And just sometimes it happens. Like it just, I'm not selling my Lamar Baltimore stock, but a lot of people are. How do you view him?
Yeah, they shouldn't. Listen, I believe in Lamar Jackson 100%. He's incredibly fun to watch. I believe in a weird way he's underrated. People think of him as the runner, but he's a great passer as well. I think he's a great leader. They've played a little sloppy this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, the special teams, which was always a strength for this team, you know, they're in a bit of a rut right now. And just listen, having held for field goal kickers for a lot of my football playing career, you know, going back all the way down to, you know, from high school to holding for Adam Vinatieri near the end of my career, like, you know, understanding that it's an operation, like it's long snapper, it's holder, it's kicker. And just like a golfer, sometimes you have a stretch where you're not in the fairway much, but I trust Justin Tucker. I kind of trust that team. And I do think that this team will be a team that's battle tested once the playoffs come around.
Matt Hasselbeck joining us. It's so funny with the Eagles. They're an awful first quarter team, but yesterday they were a great dominant second quarter team. And then they were bad in the third. Then they were unstoppable in the fourth. But when I watch them, every unit has like an unbelievable player. They're so stacked. And it's like, but you've been telling me this for a month. I've been pushing back. There is something with Sirianni. Aren't you a little concerned that eventually in the playoffs, you're not concerned that they can't score in the first quarter?
I like Nick Sirianni. I think he's a really good coach. I think the Eagles are a really good team. I feel like I like the Eagles more than Eagles fans like the Eagles, which is in a weird way. Like I believe in them more. No, listen, I thought like yesterday's game, they coached around their injury situation. They didn't have Devontae Smith. And so they said, okay, you know what? We are going to be, you know, a lot of people talk about RPO. The Eagles in that game, they were an RRO offense, a run or a run option. It was either Jalen or it was Saquon. And then once they get into the red zone, then they operate their like RPO game where it's either Jalen, Saquon, or Dallas Goedert, Jalen, Saquon, or A.J. Brown. They coached around the situation that they had, understanding who the quarterback was on the other side. I think Jalen Hurts threw for like 118 yards. He had 7 completions that ended up in a first down. Like it wasn't that kind of a game, but It's winning football. Vic Fangio does a great job. I've told you Kellen Moore is learning his guys. And really, it's a 1-2 punch, and the defense is off balance. I thought they mixed up tempo. I like Nick Sirianni. I think he's got his team focused each and every week. And we pay attention to some of the antics like on game day. But I think if you look at that team, like Monday to Saturday, they're locked in. They don't have distractions.
So do you think, it's easy for me to say this, do you think in the locker room that those veteran Niners players know this ain't working? It's time for a reboot. I mean, they're highly compensated. But do you think in the room they're questioning, we got to start over? Because I watched Philly, I watched Detroit, I watched Buffalo, I watched Baltimore. San Francisco's not close. They're not one big swing away. They're old, expensive, brittle, hurt a lot. Do you think they know that?
Yeah, I don't think I hear what you're saying. I think they feel that this year. Like, I think the real talk or the real thoughts are something like, man, this just isn't our year. Like, we're banged up. And listen, you mentioned all the time, I played 18 years in the NFL. Not every year was the same. There were some years where I wasn't banged up. I felt great. My teammates felt great. Just that's how it was. Then there were other years where we felt snake bit. Everybody in the building had an injury. Every player we had coaches basically getting surgery during the season. It was just like, what's going on with this team right now? We feel cursed or something. I think that's what they feel. I feel like the 49ers are probably like, man, we can't catch a break this year. This is not our year. But I don't think they feel like, oh, we got to blow it up, start over, get younger, because there's no king in that division. The NFC West is it's like right there. They can taste it. They know they're close. And they feel like if healthy, it would be their division. But I think it's a real thing where you feel snake bit a little bit.
Okay, so speaking of that division, because I think all of the teams have something. Seattle, again, just keeps winning. The Rams now, Stafford's on a bit of a heater now. Stafford's playing well. That game, by the way, flew by. It was like one of those baseball games now when you have the starter pitcher. It goes like 2 hours and 20 minutes. The Rams game was like over like that. And you're like, okay, do you buy the Rams? Because this is a quarterback head coach league, especially in the playoffs. And I think their defense is actually in the front seven pretty tasty. What do you make of the Rams? Do you buy them at all? Do they worry you? Do you think they could, last year they shocked us. They're better than last year, I think. What do you make of them?
Yeah, well, listen, it's a fun division. So a really good team's going to win that division with a bad record, which is I wouldn't say that about the NFC South. I think a bad team with a bad record is going to win that division. But there's going to be a good team coming out of this NFC West. The Seahawks are hot right now. That was a good win, but it was also a win against a 3-win Jets team. But the Seahawks and Arizona go head-to-head this week. This division is going to kind of eat itself. And I think that if they can stay healthy, Matthew Stafford is playing really good football. Now, that second half was great football. That first half, wasn't quite as good. So, this is a team and this is a division that I truly think it could be anybody's division.
Yeah.
And you can't really say that about much of the league. Some of the teams that are winning their division, they're playing against people that have already packed it in.
Yeah.
They're putting guys on the IR. They're saying, hey, for who, for what? We'll see you next year. That's not at all how this division is. Everybody feels like they're in it. And so for that reason, I think this is going to be one of the more competitive and more fun divisions to watch as we finish out the year.
Yeah, he's got a 121 passer rating, 8 touchdowns, no picks in the last 3 games. And so, yeah.
But it was interesting, Colin. I think they didn't score a touchdown in the first half, which is something that a Sean McVay team hasn't done in who knows?
They've actually been
Super Bowl against the Patriots.
They've been a weirdly bad first half offense. And I don't know what the answer is because McVay's brilliant, but they've been. I couldn't tell you the last great first half they had. They adjust, they play well late, but it's like Philadelphia. I can't explain Philadelphia and the Rams' first quarters. They have the component.
I think one thing that does happen is you don't really know what somebody else's game plan is going to be against you until you get into the game. If you're unique. I think Matthew Stafford's unique. I think Jalen Hurts and that Saquon offense now is unique. So you get into the game and you're like, oh, okay, now I see what their game plan was. They're going to play us nickel, meaning 5 DBs when we're in big people personnel. Got it. Or say, oh, okay, I know what they're going to do now. They're going to play a 2 shell and allow no big plays. Got it. But you don't necessarily know that until you get into the game.
Matt Hasselbeck on a Monday. Always love having you, man. Make us smarter. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.